sounds like someone writing in. Hello, it is once again me, Bacho, and today I'll be talking to you about Netflix films and TV shows. Anything Netflix related, really. Netflix media. Some may call this a video essay, but I don't like that idea because it isn't worthy of being called a video essay, because I'm really just spitballing here. The things I'll be talking about today aren't like exact things, like quantitative, measurable things. I'm just kind of like, it's all theoretical, you know. I'm just kind of like trying to figure it out for myself whilst I'm recording it almost, like, you know, like a thought experiment. Just like figuring it out as we go along. It's kind of like a conversation, you know, between an audience and the creator. I will obviously be the creator, the artist in this scenario, and this dialogue will start to emerge between us, I think. So basically, I'll just get right into the video, the nitty-gritty, whatever, you know. So something that bothers me about Netflix films, Netflix media, Netflix TV shows, whatever, and it's this aesthetical Netflix look, and I'm sure a lot of you notice it because a lot of us watch a lot of Netflix stuff. It's this very cinematic, high production value, big emphasis on colour palettes, an overtly theatrical look. It's present for more or less every Netflix original that I see advertised. There are Netflix shows that I really like that aren't exempt from this either, like Haunting of Hill House or Midnight Mass. And you might be going, okay, isn't this a good thing, like a purposeful attention to detail towards cinematography? And yes, in theory you are right. And when these Netflix shows were a new thing, I also appreciated it on that level too, but it's just become so oversaturated of late. It really does bother me to see so many shows and films that look like this, even though it's aesthetically pleasing on a technical level. And in this video, I'm going to try and figure out why I get this reaction from these seemingly nice looking shows. But one tiny point I'm going to mention before we get into the main theory of this video is it's just been the sheer amount of content we've got from Netflix. The volume of shows and films they put out is objectively too much. It's overabundance. You can have too much of a good thing. Like, say if every film looked like an A24 film, we'd get sick of it. Even though technically speaking it looks good, it looks nice, it's still just there's too much of an imbalance towards that kind of filmmaking or technical visual style. Also, I hate films. I'm just bored of films. I hate them. I like maybe watch 3 films a year that I actually fucking like, because I'm miserable and nihilistic as shit. No, that's all just a joke. It's just a silly thing. But that's all just a preface. It does not help that there's just so much of it being like shoved down our throats. We're inevitably going to get sick of it. Or at least I am, because I get sick of everything. I hate everything. I'm the real I hate everything. That guy, he's a fucking fraud. He doesn't hate anything. As a way of introducing you to the main theory of this video, I'm going to illustrate to you how I feel when I see a Netflix film or show that looks like this. It took me a while to really put my finger on what was wrong with what I was seeing on screen, and I finally got it. I finally had a huzzah moment, like, oh shit, that's it. So what it is, just picture you're watching a comedy show, not a Netflix show, but a comedy show that involves Hollywood in some way, like Barry or Curb Your Enthusiasm. Now, say in one of the episodes of one of these shows, there is a fictitious movie being played, like a movie that only exists within the universe of the TV show's world. Modern comedy shows do this a lot, where there's a film that's clearly supposed to be aping the style of a Marvel big-budget superhero film, and it's like taking the piss a bit. Now, what happens is one of the main characters from the TV show, remember there's 2 worlds going on, there's TV show and then there's the film within the universe of the TV show. A character in the TV show may be watching the film, and then it'll just cut to showing a clip from the scene from the movie that doesn't exist, the fictitious movie. It will show it on screen as if we were watching the film, and it will usually like come in the form of letterboxed, very cinematic and silly, all of the obvious theatrical aspects where it's clearly a parody of a film.
Die, Untermensch.
Now, the feeling I get when I see these exaggerated versions of movies is the same feeling I get when I watch a Netflix show. And when I figured that out, I was like, aha! The visual style of most Netflix media comes across as a parody pastiche of a movie, or famous, unmistakable cinematic trends. At least that is the feeling I get when I watch them. I just couldn't put it into words all this time. But there may be no better way to communicate that feeling to you than comparing it to these parody, fictitious movies. But essentially that is the case. These fucking Netflix things are basically screaming at you saying, I am a movie! I am a movie! This doesn't mean that on an objective level they aren't well made, well directed, well shot, but it's just there's something phony about them. Invest enough money in the right places and your shows are bound to look as good as the ones on Netflix do. Simple whimsical comedy shows have the production value of fucking Game of Thrones. And I think another reason why I've grown so tired of it is because there's so many shows that have terrible stories, terrible scripts, terrible acting even, terrible dialogue, but the production value is on point and it's almost gaslighting you saying, oh well, look at this production value, look how well shot it is as well. Shouldn't this be good in your eyes, film fan? But you still can go, no, there's something afoot here. No, do not waste good cinematography on shit like this, please. Again, this is all purely theoretical because I don't have any proof. This is just how I vaguely feel, but I think I'm pretty on the money here, honestly. I'm a genius. Honestly, it's a wonder people don't worship me. Now things are going to get even more speculative because we're going to get into why Netflix shows are like this. Like, what's the origin of all this? So here's what I think happened. So if we look back to Stranger Things 2016, I think, that was one of Netflix's first big hit shows. And that was a good show. It was well written, good characters. It was a nice, welcome pastiche to 80s cinema. It was a lot more earnest than just your average tacky 80s pastiche film. So that thing was huge for Netflix, and I think Netflix basically saw this 80s pastiche show and said, we need to keep this up. Because the show had a very pungent and memorable aesthetic to it that everyone can easily visualise. It was an aesthetic that was somewhat derivative of a previous one that existed in the 80s, but there was at least some level of inventiveness on behalf of the scriptwriters of the show. The aesthetic wasn't all that Stranger Things had to offer, at least in the early days. Now, ever since the first season of Stranger Things, I've seen this gradual rise in the frequency of all of these Netflix shows that rely upon a certain aesthetic. Maybe it's an aesthetic of a certain era of Hollywood that's beloved, or a certain subgenre of film. Like, say, this show is pastiching a slasher, or this show is pastiching Cronenberg. Sometimes we get these weird juxtaposing hybrid pastiches, like with Sex Education. That film blends an English high school narrative with the visual sensibilities of a typical American high school film. It's like John Hughes or American Pie, but in a British backdrop. Or you have things like Bridgerton, which also have this juxtaposition where it's this old-timey period piece, but it has modern pop songs. Mike Flanagan's work with Haunting of Hill House is clearly inspired by Stephen King. There's also just a whole history of horror cinema that's incorporated into the visual style of that show. So it's all of these Netflix shows and films that are pastiching these pre-existing visual filmmaking styles. So on a surface level, it's all inherently derivative. The thing is, though, we have to be careful because all art to some extent is derivative. Everything is always taking from what came before. And Tarantino especially is known for pastiching old films that he grew up with. That's a whole other topic and argument about how much you transform the original content, so to speak. Like, I think Tarantino blends all of these old styles into a completely new experience that's original to his work. And the Netflix shows and films probably range from good to bad based on how much they transform the original media, instead of just aping off the quality of films from the past. Again, I should preface that I like some Netflix shows that do this, like Stranger Things or Midnight Mass, because they go on to be shows with a bit more substance that stand on their own a bit more. I know Stranger Things has gotten a little silly as of late, but at least season 1 there was something fresh feeling about it. There are also shows like Dark or BoJack Horseman which have their own very distinct styles, but but they don't feel derivative of anything else. They've probably been inspired by their own long list of media from the past, but they inevitably created their own tone. They established their own identity. They feel like their own thing. And if a piece of media can establish its own identity, then that's what makes people remember it throughout history. I honestly believe this. Like, a thing can have any other flaws like plot holes or bad acting in some departments, but if it's memorable, if it has its own identity, that's what makes it stand out. Like, if you look at a film like The Matrix, for instance, which isn't necessarily a flawless film, but it's been remembered and revered by millions of people. It's not because it's an objective masterpiece, it's because it has such a definitive identity that no one can mistake. I honestly think that's what's most important. Like, just have a concrete personality. You can be rough around the edges, but just have that identity. And that is what a lot of these Netflix shows and films lack: a real, firm identity. On an objective level, they're well made, well directed, and well acted, but that isn't everything. Where's the fucking soul? Are we going to remember these shows? Are we going to pass them down to the next generation like, oh, you've got to see this, it's an instant classic, like Jaws or Evil Dead or something? I don't think we will for a lot of these. Like, it's a lot of just fucking junk. Like, why? What is the point in, like, putting all this money and effort into this shit? That's what it feels like. It feels like a monumental waste of talent. Like, everyone should be able to be creative, I get it, but art isn't just about objective prowess. You have to just have soul, you have to have identity. You have to want to say something. And you might think I'm being gatekeeping here, but I don't think I am. Like, to significantly impact culture with a work of art, that should be a really hard thing. It's funny because even these objectively terrible movies can have a bigger impact on culture than these fancy ones. Like, say what you will, but The Room or Battlefield Earth is going to be remembered more than, I don't know, fucking Bridgerton. Spy Kids, that's got its own identity. That's a stupid shit film, but that's got its own identity.
Excellent idea.
And this is all a consequence of Netflix not only having this hyper-capitalistic, let's put out as much shit as we can, but it's also this aesthetics-first business model where that's the most important thing when they're creating a new piece of media. The pastiche and the visual tonalities is the priority for them. So again, all this well-made, nice-looking junk that doesn't mean anything and has no identity. Well, some of it does, you know, like BoJack Horseman again. I don't want to rag too hard on them because they have, like, been a good platform for people like Charlie Kaufman, Martin Scorsese, David Fincher, and they're three of the best filmmakers working today, and if they're allowing them to make films, that I can't really complain. I should say that David Fincher's Mindhunter is arguably the best show that's ever been put out on Netflix. I think season 3 is all but cancelled. I don't even think that's even happening anymore, but that is just criminal. The fact that it even has trouble being made is just ridiculous. Going back to that comparison I made with the fictitious parody of a movie within a comedy setting, another like adjoining aspect to all of this theoretical discussion whatever is the epidemic of meta-moviemaking. You need to stop doing shit like that. Meta-moviemaking. And I'm not talking about films that get meta and refer to themselves like Deadpool and stuff. I'm talking about a much more specific and theoretical thing which occurs when people are making the actual movie, like an attitude or a sensibility kind of thing. I think both filmmakers and audiences and just the general population have this hyper-awareness and fixation on pre-existing media. Maybe it's because of the internet and all of this information and knowledge about film has been centralized or something, but I just feel like everything has become meta. Everything is just too aware of itself. Everyone is hyper-introspective, over-analytical of themselves and the world. I honestly think kids are encouraged to get into like world events at an earlier age for some reason at the moment. It's such a hard concept to put into words, but it's this giant like circle jerk of I am an intellectual, I know about everything in my mind, I'm the master of my domain, so to speak. I'm the most analytical thinker. Like, everyone is just fixated on that. I'm perfectly aware that I'm probably contributing to this culture as well with the reviews I put out and whatnot, but everyone is just an armchair psychologist. It's honestly ridiculous. And film discourse is all about having the hottest take and being the most media literate. We're going into all kinds of different tangents here, so just to bring it back to this, to like the meta-movie making kind of thing. Because of this hyperfixation of knowledge that was probably exacerbated by the COVID pandemic, honestly, everyone just locked inside gooning to information, media is now tailoring itself to this overwhelming cultural mentality. Have you noticed that so many popular films are always doing things to like wink at the audience and be like, oh yeah, we're on the same level, you and me, we're on the same level of intellectualism. They'll make postmodern crude jokes about storytelling trends because every audience member is just in the know now. So many popular films are made with this kind of air of, oh look at us, we're obviously pastiching this old thing that everyone likes, don't you want to see this return? Like, ooh, look at this. Don't worry, we all like this, don't we? Let's like revisit all of these emotions again. The whole point about this movie is we're pastiching Cronenberg because everyone knows about that now. Like, Christ on a fucking bike, it drives me insane. It might sound like I'm trying to gatekeep knowledge of certain like niche films and stuff, but I'm honestly not trying to do that. It's just that it's become oversaturated and now like big corporations are pandering to it. There's this phrase like, this film is very much inspired by this, and it's like so prevalent right now. It's like every featurette is like, this one is very much inspired by this. I'm very much inspired by that kind of filmmaker. Oh, he's amazing. It's all just like, stop. Everyone is just fixated on the past, it feels like. That's what it feels like. I'm going crazy. The phrase harkening back, like everything's harkening back to something. Oh, this is harkening back to a Pulp Fiction. This is harkening back. And it's been, we've critiqued this over and over again, but it's still here. I'm going fucking insane. I'm not trying to be like, I'm not miserable. I'm not this miserable in real life. Like, trust me. Like, this is just like, I'm being hyperbolic to be entertaining. You do understand that. I'm not Mauler. I'm not Critical Drinkaway. If you come up to me in public, I'll be like, fuck off, walk, bastard. Yeah, that's not me. Stop making movies. Make 3 movies a year. How about that? Just make 3 movies a year so it becomes a bit more of a specialty again. I'm not trying to gatekeep. I'm just trying to make things, you know, overabundance kills, man. It fucking kills. If you have birthday cake every day of the year, it stops being good, doesn't it? No one is making movies anymore. Not real movies anyhow. Just weird kind of like factory-made things, you know. Anyway. There's no script to this video if you figured that one out. Again, hyperbolic, like this doesn't like make me genuinely upset. Like I go about my day and it really doesn't bother me. Sometimes I see trailers and I'm just like, I eye roll just because I'm like, I'm so sick of this. Or I see a Netflix show being advertised, I'm like, oh, this is just, please no more. I can't fucking stomach any of it. There's also a theory that I have become insanely picky and selective, and I definitely have. Like it's really like, it's a fucking like ridiculous deliberating process of like, what show am I going to watch? Like, is this going to be culturally impactful, like in the grand scheme of things? I watched Shogun recently, that's really good. I think that's kind of like its own thing. I think that's kind of cool. I like The Bear as well, that's its own thing. But honestly, Baby Reindeer I've stayed clear of because it's just Netflix. It's got that Netflix insignia on it, and I was like, no, it's probably good. It's probably good because YMS said it's good, so it must be good. And I just go off whatever he says anyway. This channel is completely just a front. I get all my opinions off of YMS, IHE, and well, Ralph the Movie Maker's, I don't know, I'm pretty sure he's fucking dead and a robot's replaced him, but regardless, what the fuck? What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is this video? It is a fucking stupid video. Films are made with this almost self-conscious awareness of the films from the past. That's what I'm trying to say. Everything is harkening back. It's too much, and I don't know if this might be one of the most incoherent videos I've ever done. That's why I'm like kind of making all this goofy shit up, so at least it's entertaining in that department. A video essay, yeah, it's a fucking video essay. This, like, it's just so well articulated. You've done such a good job, Batcho, at just like getting your thoughts across. Like, no, I haven't. No, I fucking haven't. I've done an awful job. This is one of the most ineloquent fucking videos on the entirety of YouTube. It's a disgrace to the video essay medium. At least Dune, that wasn't like harkening back to anything. That was just fucking Dune, wasn't it? It's just fucking Dune, mate. Like, Dune was a fucking, like, it's a fucking movie. And like, Rebel Moon. No, for Rebel Moon, I'm not going to watch that. I don't want to watch that. At least Zack Snyder's got his own fucking style. Like, he's not necessarily derivative of other people. The style's just shit and badly applied. I'm just sick of movies. I don't want to watch any more movies. I don't want to watch movies anymore. What? I've started reading. You know, I've started fucking reading because I guess I'm that bored. I've started reading Cormac McCarthy and fucking Great Gatsby, and it's shit and it's boring. I'm joking. This is harkening back to David Lynch, and I really like how it's harkening back to David Lynch, and everything's just so fucking dandy, isn't it? Shut up. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. I hate to break it to you, T, but this is harkening back to Sopranos.
Oh, son of a bitch!
What?
Did I just tell you not to say that again?
Don't worry, this isn't the future of the channel. This is like a one-off flow of consciousness kind of thing. Like professional, like well-made, hopefully well-articulated videos are coming or in the pipeline, because I know I've got a lot of subscribers to please now and I can't just fucking goof off all the time. Or can I? Maybe I should just turn into a critical drinker like one of them, or like Ben Shapiro, like, this movie was fucking horrible. They killed Han Solo off in probably one of the worst ways you could imagine. I'm not showing my kids this. And there's Jordan Peterson who's like, I don't have to watch Barbie. What the hell? What kind of question is that? The reason I didn't script this was because Netflix isn't even like, I don't even care that much about the topic. I just wanted to like, just get a little video out, see how it goes, But yeah, that's been it. That's been me. That's been Bacho, and it's been my rawest self, my like most intimate self. Like you see me warts and all, and it's important because like there's a lot of YouTubers put on a front and I put a face, like a facade of Isa, and I have shown you a bit of my real self, and I think it's scary, it's disturbing, but it's also quite beautiful, isn't it? Like it's an intriguing kind of like, it's a morbid curiosity. You can't look away. It's like it's a spectacle, isn't it? It's a bad spectacle. It's a disgusting, horrible spectacle, but it's also quite gorgeous and amazing. Yes, I will say goodbye to you now. Goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Please subscribe. Please subscribe.
You having a wank? You having a wank? You having a wank? You having a wank? You having a wank?
You disgusting fat fuck.
You having a wank? You having a wank? You having a wank? You having a wank?
Disgusting fat fuck.
You having a wank?